Good morning. Welcome to our last session for the most essential learning competency number three. Praise the unity of plot, setting, and characterization in a material viewed to achieve the writer's purpose. Today, we will be dealing with our literary piece entitled Life of Pi. Our objectives for this lesson are: first, identify the elements of the featured movie and apply knowledge of the elements of story or film, focusing on plot, settings, characterization, and author's purpose.
To help us understand the lesson, here are some guide questions. First, what are the elements present in the featured movie Life of Pi? Second, who are the characters and what are their roles in the movie? How do their roles affect those of others? Third, where did the story take place? How did the transition of the movie's settings affect the whole movie? And last one, is the plot organized? What impressions do you have with the author's presentation of events? Before we move to the discussion of our lesson, let's have this activity entitled A Piece of Pie, where you are to fill in the organizer with every information needed. Make sure your narrations are short yet complete. Here is your graphic organizer. In your graphic organizer, you have to share your greatest regret in life. How did you cope up with it? And what change or changes did it cost you? Don't worry, you don't have to answer the organizer today, but be sure to submit your output on the deadline along with the other activities on this module. At the beginning of this week's lesson, you have been instructed to watch the movie entitled Life of Pi by Ang Lee, based on the novel written by Jan Martel, published in 2001. However, the story was rewritten by David Magee for the film. And so, today, you will revisit the story's characters, settings, and plot. You will also be reading a synopsis of the story before accomplishing your final task for this module. It's an application of your lesson on the elements of a story and author's purpose. So, are you ready now? Our journey to Life of Pi begins. Briefly, let's get to know about the director of the film, Ang Lee. He is born in 1954 in Pingtung, Taiwan, and is now married to Jane Lin and had two lovely children. He is known as one of the greatest contemporary filmmakers today. Aside from being a filmmaker and director, Ang Lee appeared as an actor to several films, mostly portraying father figure, if not characters, dealing with gender and sexuality. His great accomplishment in directing made him also to direct the comic book film The Hulk in 2003, while his movie Life of Pi became the first family film to win the Best Director category in the Academy Awards. Isn't it amazing? Now let's get to know the characters better. We have the first character and our major protagonist, Paisin Molitor Patel, or also known as Pai. He narrated most of the novel, and his account on his 227 days at sea. Next on our list of characters is the Royal Bengal Tiger, Richard Parker, with whom Pai shared his lifeboat. Pai was able to tame the said tiger, but soon left him without saying goodbye. Next on our pool of characters is Francis Adirubasamy. He is more known to be the swimmer who taught and bestowed Pai his unusual moniker. One among the characters, we have Ravi Patel, Pai's older brother, and he is known to be quite popular in school. He teases his younger brother mercilessly over Pai's devotion to three religions: Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam. We also have Santosh Patel, Pai's father and the owner of the Madras Hotel and the Pondicherry Zoo. Another character in the movie is the mother and protector of Pai, Jita Patel, to whom Pai bestowed his love for reading. The person who influenced Pai into Christianity and his love for one God is Father Martin. At the end of the movie, we were able to meet Meena Patel, Pai's wife, Nikhil Patel, Pai's son, and Usha Patel, Pai's young daughter, who is very close to him. Another set of characters which brought chaos and changed into Pai's life in the sea are the hyena, the ugly, intensely violent animal who devoured the zebra, and Orange Juice, the orangutan that floated towards the lifeboat using a raft of floating bananas. Last on our list of characters are Tomohiro Okamoto and Atsuro Chiba, the doubtful interviewers sent by the Maritime Department to interview Pai as a part of the investigation on the sinking of the Japanese Chimchum. The most notable settings of the story happened on the Pondicherry Zoo, where the movie started, the Pacific Ocean, specifically on the Mariana Trench, where the tragedy happened, the lifeboat shared by Pai together with 4 other animals, the carnivorous island where Pai and Richard Parker happened to stay for a rest, and Canada, where Pai settled. Now, let's revisit the story by reading the synopsis. Ready? Let's start. Growing up in India, thoughtful boy young Pai finds himself curious about God in all of his many forms. The strong hybrid faith that he develops serves teenage Pai well after he loses his whole family when their ship sinks during a terrible storm, and this storm happened in the Mariana Trench. After the tragedy, Pai finds himself adrift on a lifeboat with 4 zoo animals: a wounded zebra, an aggressive hyena, a friendly orangutan, and a large, unpredictable tiger known as Richard Parker. As days passed by, the hyena tried to manipulate the lifeboat by consuming the eel zebra, Defended by the orangutan, the hyena devoured her. Eventually, the tiger came out of the lifeboat's cover and killed the hyena. Soon, only Pi and Richard Parker remained, and together they must figure out how to stay alive on the open ocean. The struggle for survival in the midst of the treacherous ocean made things even worse as a man tries to keep himself alive from a hungry tiger. Storms tested both the characters. Until they woke up one day boarded in the carnivorous island where Pi somehow managed to rest and feed himself abundantly. But upon knowing how the island kills fish and becomes poisonous at night, Pi decided to gather enough food and fresh water on the next morning before finally departing from the island. Soon, they were able to settle in an island where the tiger finally had its own journey to the woods, while Pi was rescued by the settlers and took him to the hospital where he was interviewed by reporters who were doubtful of what happened to him. Since the reporters are doubtful of his true accounts, Pi made a metaphoric story comparing the humans to the animals he met on board. Finally, Pi was able to catch up with his life, marrying his beloved woman and having 2 children. That ends our lesson. To generalize, this session you have met the characters in the movie Life of Pi, especially Pi and Richard Parker, the Bengal tiger. You revisited the different settings and reviewed the major scenes in the movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Now it's time for a comprehension check. For your first exercise entitled Tracing the Route, you have to create a diagram that shows the relationship of all the characters in the movie with Pi as the center or root. There should be more than 15 characters in your diagram. Cite the reasons for their relationships and print or finish your output in a separate clean sheet. Here's an example of the output expected from you. As you can see in the diagram, Pi is written at the center, surrounded by some other characters and their relationship to Pi. Another activity for this session is entitled Hit the Theme, wherein from the movie's themes in each box, you can see them below, choose only one to expound or explain. What message is the theme giving to its audience? How are you affected by the theme? Remember to write your answer in just 3 to 5 sentences. For your last activity on this session, entitled Color My Theme, using the color of your choice, color the lifeboat according to your interpretation about Pi's journey from the time the boat sank to the time he fully recovered his life. Explain in a single sentence only. Please accomplish this activity on the workbook given to you. To everyone who cannot find hope by this time, let me leave you something to ponder. Pi once said in one of his scenes, "Even when God seemed to have abandoned me, he was watching." Even when he seemed indifferent to my suffering, he was watching. And when I was beyond all of hope of saving, he gave me rest and gave me a sign to continue my journey. Congratulations for finishing this module. See you on our next session, and don't forget to finish all the activities and submit them on time. Goodbye!